Okay. If everybody can hear me, can I just get a one to make sure that everybody is absolutely clear in this call? We had a little tiny bit of technical difficulty previously, and it looks like we're okay. Good morning, Joseph. Good morning, Dan. Guy, good to see you. Brian, AJ, Laura, Adam, Andrew, Don, Tony. Wow, great. Everybody's on time. Hope you are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to roll here. Okay, good to hear it. Okay, so one of the things that Sue asked us to do this morning is find out what it is that, if you guys have actually watched last week's information, last fall's session. How many of you have actually watched part 2 previously? Just give us a 1 if you have. Okay, we're getting lots of yeses here. And give us a 2 if you have not. Okay, Bradley, that's fine. All right, now one of the things that we are going to be doing is if you have any questions at all or anything that's connected, please go ahead and write questions. What we thought we would do is roll in with, those of you who have questions about that and insights so that we can apply what we learned directly to your case. We're going to try to stay really on point with very specific things in your personal empires so that we understand exactly what you need. Does anybody have a question about last week's or last session's call on Persuasion Architecture? Is there anything that particularly interested you and or that was not clear? Okay. I'm kind of getting some questions here and there. Okay.
Looks like we should do an overview.
Okay. So the overview of last week's call, and Sue, jump in and help me at any point here. Is my screen being shared?
Yeah, the one with, now it's got the rings on it.
Okay. I moved the brain out of the way. And you've got the questions?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to hold. Okay, good. So one of the biggest questions that we get, because we've built a lot of power tools, like Kraken, the last keyword tool, Matt and Sue worked for years on DWS Any Silo Builder, a plugin. What's interesting is that tools are a huge aspect of the battle, even the best ones out there when it comes to silo architecture. But there's also the actual human side of it. And Cybernetics is the process of integrating the machine world with the human world, interfacing with the machine world and the human world. And believe it or not, when you're building an empire like the socially activated OneWeb ring, you're building socially integrated just by the act of the social activation. We're talking about human beings there. Okay, and when we're talking about website silo architecture, integrating keywords, vertical market, swallowing your market whole, these kinds of things, we're talking about the machine world. So when we're talking about creating a perpetual downstream traffic system with pumps all over the place and traffic floating in from all the, being driven in from all of these web rings to your primary money site, your transaction and conversion architecture, we're really talking about the human world and all the machine world helping us out to set up an environment or a context or a frame in which human beings are moving and compelled to move towards your buy button and or any other call to action. You understand? I know this seems really basic, but if you understand what a call to action is, or CTA, put a 1 in there. Give me a 1 if you understand what a call to action is. No problem understanding a call to action. Excellent. Okay, now there are several kinds of call to action, right? Calls to action. John Ward, can you please give me an example of a call to action in the window box? Can you type one in? There's several call to actions. Just type an example in. It's not rocket science here. I'm just trying to get us all waking up. Exactly. Buy now. Yep, Guy, you got it. That is actually, click here is a call to action. Don Worthing, can you give, Don, can you give me, yep. Daniel, sign up. Okay, give me 1 or 2 more calls to action. Let's use them up here. Don, you got it. Sign up now. Bradley, correct. Call now. Subscribe. All right, you guys got it. Almost everybody's chiming in. Please send me this free report. Absolutely. Here's what exactly what you need to do next. That's right, AJ. Exactly what you need to do next. And the team and I have often talked about how surprised we are when watching calls to action and metrics, how precise you actually have to be. So there's contextual call to action and there's precise call to action, meaning do this, dummy, and dragging them by the ears to the buy button. I've always actually had a lot better results with just not making any assumptions that people know what to do and just telling them, with courtesy. And, so that's really one of the things that's important. Now, we're going to start off, let's go ahead and, before we get too deep into this, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the cybernetic aspect just a little bit. Okay. Now, everybody knows about website silo architecture. And there's something else called conversion architecture or persuasion architecture. Who can give me an example of the difference between persuasion architecture and website? Obviously, who knows what website architecture is? Give me one if you understand already, and you've been studying our stuff for years. Just trying to get a sense of everyone here. If you understand basics behind website style architecture, give me one. Okay, we got machine gun ones coming down the screen here. Because Matt's going to has been and will continue to teach website style architecture and persuasion architecture. All of us are steeped in this. If you can see my screen here, you can see that on the right side, we've got persuasion architecture overlapping. Okay. I would say that most of the technical, and you guys can probably understand this, most of the people who come into our organization with hardcore SEO background, meaning keyword research, adding the keywords to the framework, making sure that you have the total search market value pulled out from Kraken, which is pretty amazing. You can determine if your market, when you swallow it, is going to be worth $1 million per month or $1 billion per year, if you do the math properly with our software and technology, right? And a lot of the time gets spent in dropping those keywords into the proper place and looking for the perfection in the technical side for the machine world. And, there is some user interface there. But a lot of people forget the persuasion side, the persuasion architecture, which is on the right. And it's actually the overlap of these two that gives you the best possible ranking. And more importantly, not more importantly, but equally as important, the highest possible conversion. Does that make sense? Give me a 1 if you understand, and a 2 if I've confused you in any way. Okay, looks like we have full understanding. And don't hesitate, to call me out if you don't understand what it is that I'm talking about, because I know that it can get kind of deep here. Let me just go ahead and quit Skype, make sure that I have all my processors on this machine. We have found that the things that we're going to be talking about today in terms of your empire are one of those big giant light bulbs that comes off. How many of you have been, in your experience on getting online, have been focused primarily on keywords, and you get a website up and it's got its total website style architecture, and you actually are so absorbed in the technical structure that you forget what you're selling? Has that ever happened for you? Give me a 1 if you've gotten so wrapped in your technology that you actually forget what you're selling. Okay, so a few of us can relate to that. And I just wanted to say, you guys, that's not...
What, we selling stuff?
Yeah, I just wanted you guys to know that that's not uncommon. And so you can relax. That's one of the things that we're here to help you understand. At the end of the day, you can have the perfect website silo architecture and total integration of the optimal. We've got all that. We teach you how to do that. We've got some of the most advanced technical trading in the world. And at the end of the day, you can't really forget what you're selling. Okay, that's why it's actually really important that you go through the process and watch the game board or the process map that shows how all of our tools are put together. If you give me a 2 if you have not seen the virtual tour of how all of our software and systems are put together. Okay, we'll go ahead and launch that. Oh, you guys have not seen that? Okay, that's okay. That's if you go to the Network Empire homepage. I think Matt's going to put it in the members area. I have found you may have seen it and not know that's what it's called. That is a process map that Sue Bell created out of compassion for us, so that we would be able to connect the dots on how the entire technology system is put together. This is what we call maybe you know it as the online marketing process map. If you guys haven't seen that, we're going to put this in the members area. This is one of the things that I really recommend that everybody, I refer to it sometimes. She made it for us originally, and then we turned it into awesome marketing material. Okay, and there's a video in here which we're going to put this particular, here's the process map, and we have one that is pretty much not linking to the sales pages but linking to the actual references, so we'll make sure that you get that. Yeah, we're going to drop the relevant link in here, and more importantly, Joseph, we're going to give you the non-sales version of this. I'll go ahead and put that in there for you. Sue or Matt, I'm not able to, for some reason, get this into the window. Could you guys do that? Oh, wait, here we got it. Never mind, we got it. I'm sending it to everybody.
I'm gonna put the links into the chat.
Well, I just want to make sure that everybody, you guys all should have that. Now, what's really, you know what I love about process maps, you guys? You know, because I'm a neuromarketing guy, right? You know, my last roommate was a PhD and a doctorate in neuroscience anatomy, and I've, you know, engaged in neuromarketing processes all around the world, studied with the greats and these types of things. So I'm very much into how the brain works, as you guys probably have figured out. And when you see a map like this, it's kind of shock and awe, right? But here's the good news. This contains actually all the steps in a process, including the relationship to our tools. And it's a very honest map, right? It's not like click this button off of ClickBank and make $1 trillion in 2.5 minutes, right? This process map that you see right here is making 7 and 8 figures a year, okay, for us and for other people. And isn't it really cool to know that this is the size of it? Like if we shrink all of the overwhelming and daunting processes, this is pretty much most of the processes, and Sue, you know, you can jump in, of course, and slap me around a little bit if you want. These are most of the processes that you need to complete your early marketing processes and complete your primary web ranks. And actually, past that point, it starts to get to be rinse and repeat. Once you've done that stuff, all of this stuff becomes somewhat easy. Wouldn't you agree with that, Sue?
Easy.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Less complex because you've got your primary, you've got your core axiom.
Absolutely.
Okay. Axiom meaning what the heck are you selling? The reason I went over to this, you guys are probably asking, like, where is he going? Whoosh, you know, squirrel. No, I'm doing this because the first thing that we say on this is, what the heck are you selling? Okay? What are you selling? You need to know, determine the pain in your market to find your starting keywords. Okay? And even though, yes, we are referencing a software, we want you to know this is, I'm not trying to sell you software. You already know what tools you need. If you don't know what you're selling, you can't even begin this process. Okay? It's the same with the stackable, Perpetual lead system here, and we'll drop this. This should be in your members area as well. It's the same with this system. At the foundations here, create your ISDNA. If you don't know what you're selling and how you're engaging the human world, it's going to be really difficult to begin to build a massive global empire. Okay? I'll go ahead and drop that link, Perpetual lead magnet, to the entire audience in the chat window that's there. And again, don't worry, guys. We'll have cliff notes for everything that we covered
And then would you go back to the rings for just a second?
Sure.
Because I want to point out that you get your panes down. You start with your panes and your WR1. And the reason that I actually put this in a ring system like that is because it's like dropping a rock in the middle. You drop that pane and its solution in your WR1, and it ripples out through all of your other platforms, your social media platforms, and all of your other domains. And so that's where it gets easier, because once you get everything set up, you just drop that rock in the middle, and everything goes out from there, and your message becomes ubiquitous. It covers the entire internet.
Exactly. And we are going for ubiquity. Ubiquity means you everywhere all the time right now. It means that it is common. The word ubiquitous means common, or everybody knows about it. Like Google is ubiquitous, okay, and that type of thing. So you want your brand goal ultimately is to be that. But let's put things in perspective. Put 1 for true and 2 for false. It is possible to make 7 figures off of a single page HTML site. 1 for true, 2 for false. Which by the way would be this one if it existed, okay? Minus the silo structure. Okay. It's okay. Okay, we got quite a few 1s and we got a couple 2s in there. Let's ask a better question. What would you need in order to make greater than 7 figures from a single page website? Okay, type something in if you think you know the answer to that. Yeah, exactly. Guy, you're exactly correct. But Guy, no fair, you've done coaching with me, so yeah, exactly. You would need well, actually, Bradley, you wouldn't necessarily even theoretically. I actually have had business partners who've made several $100,000 or more over a course period of time off of a one-page website. So what they're really focusing on is their emailing list, right? And yes, Dan, they would need to have awesome persuasion architecture, right? So I'm only expressing that because it's by looking at extremes and by looking at contrast that we have an idea, and sometimes it's a really good reminder about what's really going on. So when you have, it's possible to have really good persuasion architecture and a list. Now that list would still have had to have been built somewhere, right? But you can buy lists, you can joint venture lists. I have known people who have a product, who had a joint venture product. You would probably also need a product, okay, to do very, very well. But I've also known people who have joint ventured. So the reason I bring this up is just a reminder that the what the heck am I selling effect is so powerful when understood that you don't have to have all the technical, gigantic empire building, personal brand broadcasting, social activated, perpetual downstream traffic system to do it if you didn't want to. There are ways of using persuasion just by itself and your relationships and your list to make 6 and 7 figures pretty much, once you understand it, pretty easily. And that's when I say easy, I mean once you get good at it, it makes a lot of sense, okay, and you could do it. And all of you have come up with really great ideas about how that might be possible. Persuasion, great market. Yeah, John, that's actually, John Ward says like one of the things that would be needed to pull that off would be an awesome market. I do agree with that. You've got to have a hungry market, which ties back to what we're saying about the pain, isn't it? That's really what we're talking about. For example, I have a friend whose business is booming, and it wasn't booming before the Fukushima radiation accident, right? But then the trend is everybody getting freaked out about Fukushima and him offering a natural iodine-based product and handmade Geiger counters. True story, right? And it's exploding. So it makes sense that pain, fear, agenticity, these are very, very common things to drive sales in a market. And then also, of course, there's, in the internet marketing world, there's also money making and money getting. That will probably always be a pain for people. So that's one of the things that people jump in and do. Okay. So just to summarize so we can get off of this particular thread, website persuasion architecture refers to a website that has been designed and developed in such a way to convince visitors, website persuasion architecture, to convince visitors to take action that you desire. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. And we're going to go ahead and drop this, and all these are available in your members area. I'm going to go ahead and drop this to the community here just in case. I don't want to assume that you Oh, by the way, the site that this is on is called ThemeZoom Glossary. You don't have to put the giant Brainiac link in here. There's a shortcut. Just go to themezoomglossary.com, and it'll take you to this entire thing. Okay, so I've just given that to everybody. Are there any questions at this point before we move on to the stackable persuasion system? Has everybody had their coffee? Do I need to start serving coffee to everybody?
I need more coffee.
Clearly you do, because you haven't been this quiet in days. Okay. More coffee, okay. I'll FTP some coffee or espresso to any of you who asks for it. Lunch? Where is Daniel? Daniel, where are you from? Is it lunchtime?
I think he's in Germany.
Oh, he's in Germany. Montreal. No, he's in Montreal.
Montreal. Ah, okay. So you're trying to confuse me, Daniel.
Oh, yeah. Now we're very confused. We can't continue. Okay. Oh, John, I forget that you're in Nashville. Were you at the Nashville live event? Okay. Great. You know I have a family estate right there in Franklin, huh? I'm not sure if I hung out with you or not there. Okay. I probably did. Can't put your face to your name. Okay.
All right.
All right, so I'm just giving a little pause there. Is your all right? So you're telling me to move on?
Yeah, we've actually got a pretty good time limit today because we've got another webinar right after this.
I'm not allowed to.
You can't
lollygag at all.
No.
Okay, so that's her not so subtle way of cracking whip. Okay, here's a great question. I was just waiting for questions. Would it be good to give example as in real website like travel area, the hair stuff Matt is talking about? Okay. An example of persuasion architecture? Okay. Okay, before we give examples, we're going to go ahead and go into more theory. So, let me see. The main thing that we want to address is the stackable persuasion theme to headline system, because the examples are going to be yours today. Okay, I can show you dozens upon dozens of examples, and we will. But I also want to make sure you guys have the stackable persuasion theme to keyword headline thing. I'm going to go ahead and send this wiki entry. The one thing, if there's nothing else that I want you to leave with, is an understanding of the stacking of the persuasion architecture on top of the website silo architecture. This is not the pure website example that you're looking for, because the problem with me just giving you a raw example up front is that you're not going to see the stacking process. In fact, you guys can look at sales pages a dime a dozen, right? We're going to talk about that. They're everywhere. And some of them are good and some of them are great. And we will get into the qualities of an awesome persuasion. By the way, Sue, what time do I have? When do we need to close out our event here?
Top of the hour.
Okay, yeah, so we've got a good half an hour. We're good. We're going to get into, not only will I leave for you guys examples, because what I don't want to do is I don't want you to confuse this conversation for copywriting. We're going to get into copywriting in the last 5 or 10 minutes, but I don't want you to think that this is copywriting by itself, because copywriting integrated into website silo architecture is a little bit different. Okay. So that's one of the things that I want to make sure that we take a look at. One of the things, okay. So take, for example, if you have a vertical theme like skin, this is just an example of how you would take a pain, okay? And when if ranking for the word skin, I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but interestingly enough, the more broad something is, the more that somebody has to, even if you are ranked for the word skin and you have a directory or a massive authority site or something, they're going to drill into your site by clicking around inside the site, okay? And the broader of a term that you rank for, the less specific the pain, okay? But if you have a page on that site and the topic is skin rash, okay, it could be other topics, but it could also be skin rash, then you're getting very specific about what the pain is all about. Okay, at that point, your solution, that is, what the heck are you selling, right, may be, for example, and this is really up to you, and this is really up to your business model, could be, for example, skin rash balm. But you see how we're stacking skin, longer and longer tails. This is what's called shingling, among other things. Skin rash balm, or whatever, lotion, skin rash medication, whatever it is the object is that you're selling. Okay. And then you can go to how to choose a safe skin rash balm. That might be a headline, right? Following what we call the Painkiller Article method. Okay, and it's just simply a headline. And we give you the exact templates inside your Tech Foundation members area on how those, we give you several example templates so you don't really have to think when it comes to writing, painkiller headlines. Then, of course, you can have a resequence, and you can resequence a headline in many different ways. Balms for skin rashes, are they safe? Right? These are intriguing and or interesting but incomplete headlines that will get people to click on your headlines. And the reason you want that is because if you're publishing the blog in your WR1 network, in your primary core ground zero branded sites, and you're creating awesome headlines, you want those headlines to be syndicated downstream to your various social media platforms. And when you have headlines like that, people are more inclined to click, even when you're starting to automate some of your various things. The headlines are very human. Okay, we've talked about them as cybernetic. Therefore, human beings are going to be attracted to headlines because, like that, because they're trying to solve a problem. Okay, and of course, there's different ways to resequence with authority. For example, the ointment synonym. As for brand distinction, if you have a doctor as authority, let's say you've got an interview with a doctor, and that depends on your brand. Doctor recommends ointment for skin rashes. Okay, so that would be an example. Now, also keep in mind that on this stackable persuasion example, we have the tools recommended right here. We have Kraken is a great way to come up with vertical themes. We've got millions of dollars into that tool, and that's essentially one of the more difficult things to do, is to find out what vertical themes and mid-themes even come up also that have the most amount of money in your market. The TLKT, Kraken, and Painfinder is specifically designed to help you at a glance determine, not for everything, but for many, many markets. Some of you might have some challenges in some of your markets, but most of the markets will be contained within there. These give you some percolators. We also talk about the frequently asked questions and should ask questions inside the members area. So you need to know what the questions the market's asking. All right. And then, of course, any silo builder, TLKT, and Painfinder will help you get your specific solutions. All right. And then ultimately, the Painkiller Article method that we give you inside the area, members area, will help you come up with better headlines. You'll get really, really good at writing headlines that are pointing to your problem or pain. And then resequencing those headlines we give you in the Painkiller method, because we give you like 5 or 6 different templates that you can use in order to set up those headlines. Okay. Also, Sue, did you give me permission to give them the Mythbuster kind of stuff at some point? Is that something we want to include in the members area, or is that something we're going to wait on?
Yeah. No, I think that'd be great.
Okay. We have a new type of writing sequence that we've been teaching that's similar to the Painkiller Article method, PAM method. That we've never released before to anybody except high-paying clients. I'd like to, if anybody would be interested in gaining access to the Mythbuster method, can you give me a 1 so that I know that you would be interested in that writing style? I don't know how much of you, machine gun, boom. Everybody. Okay. I'm going to, yeah, okay, cool, good. I'm really glad that you guys get it first. That's good. Well, I'm really glad you guys you're really special to us, and you're great focusing on this stuff, and so I really do want you to have access to this and give me some feedback on it. It's really working. And the Painkiller Article method, if you're not familiar with the previous article method that we still use called the Painkiller Article method, put a 2 and put a 1 if you are familiar with PAM, the PAM method, Painkiller Article method. Okay. Matt, we have the Painkiller Article method inside this module, this week's module, right? inside the Tech Foundation training.
Yes,
Yeah.
I put a link there with the webinar archive. They've got the long version of this call, the last webinar, which is about an hour and a bit, and then all the supporting material is underneath that actual video.
Okay.
So if you go to webinar archive, week 2, you'll see it all.
Okay. Yeah. It's really important that you guys go in there and look over the templates.
I've got the link here for the folks as
Okay,
well.
excellent. Thank you. Make sure that you go over and look at the powerful, do not underestimate the power of the Painkiller Article method. And I'm emphasizing this before we move on to the advanced templates, the Mythbuster templates we're going to actually put inside the members area in the correct format. But first, I also want you to understand the Painkiller Article method. The Painkiller Article method is very, very powerful because when we get to week 3, 4, actually 4 and 5, I think, PAM was invented for the ability to take those awesome headlines, like how, for example, like those clickable and click addiction headlines, like how to choose a safe skin rash, or what the heck is, you can have all kinds of really, really cool headlines, and you'll see how to write them in there. The reason they're important is those, remember, your blog posts get syndicated downstream, okay? And we have a plugin coming out called Social Explosion. It's actually done. We're beta testing it right now. And you guys are going to be on the list to be our first beta testers. And what happens is when you publish a blog post using the PAM or the Painkiller Article method, each one of the sentences, what we found is that many of the sentences, if you were to break that Painkiller Article down into individual sentences, chop it up, if you will, into little pieces, when you syndicate downstream to all of your social media platforms like Facebook, Pinterest, all those locations, because it's a painkiller style writing, the sentences, when they're retweeted, Twitter's another one, Facebook, Twitter, because you've written your whole article in a specific style, you've got dozens of sentences that are also compelling because of the way that you've written it. And what we originally called the social shredder, now called social explosion, will help you chop sentence by sentence over the course of days and weeks. It'll chop your articles up forever and syndicate them to all these dozens of platforms downstream. And that increases your click-through rate because of the Persuasion Architecture, because you've written the articles in a way that's highly compelling, and you get all this traffic driving from these social media accounts to your primary website, okay, or to your secondary websites as well. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really, really cool, and that's why you want to write your articles in particular kinds of ways, okay? So you guys will be on our beta tester list for Social Explosion. I'm very, very happy about that.
Oh, yeah. In fact, who would like to test that? It's going to start today.
I imagine that a lot of people will. Let me just go ahead.
Nobody wants to test it.
All right, you guys. I'm so happy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I do want to make sure that you guys know. You can contact any of us. Like if you go to the Tech Foundation group, and you're all so polite. I mean, you can go to the Tech Foundation group, and one of us will answer. But if you're not hearing from us, I know, Guy, you know this because we're often having conversation. You can contact me directly. You guys are special to us. You're working really hard. You've committed. You're in for the long haul. You're even pre-certification certified. So don't hesitate. For me personally, Sue gets a little bit busy because she's running like 97 companies. But if you need to contact me, especially about Persuasion Architecture, just know our strengths. Don't hesitate, to just grab me for that, okay? And just give me a little reminder, because we have over 3,000 students or something insane. I'm going to try to remember you all by name. But just remind me, hey, Tech Foundation training. I know some of you, but not all of you. Give me a 1 if you really, really understand that you can contact me and just as a Tech Foundation. Laura, I do know you, so that's good. Okay, 1.5, awesome. All right, thanks, guys. Because, yeah, you've really got a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so we'll get you in what's the best thing for them to do if they want to be in beta for Social Explosion, Sue?
I'm typing, everybody who said 1, I'm typing their name in now.
Oh, okay. All right, good. All right, good. So where the heck was I? As you can see, what I'm primarily excited about is Social Explosion today. Okay. But the real thing that I haven't been able to express very well, you guys, is that the Painkiller Article method. Matt, I didn't get the link to the module that has the Painkiller Article method in it. Let me see. Just looking for the PAM document.
What are you looking for, Russ?
I'm looking for the PAM document.
I can find it for you while you're speaking.
Okay, yeah. The main thing is that when you look at the PAM,
I'll get it for you now.
the template, yeah, okay, I don't have skip. I just want you to understand how powerful. When you're looking at the PAM templates, the Painkiller Article Method template, it would be easy to confuse them for something else and not know that they were integrated for long-term, for high click-through rates on your socially activated one web ring perpetual downstream traffic system. In other words, we selected that method as the highest possible click-through when you shred it into sentences for your social media and your downstream, not only social media, but your downstream environment too. We also syndicate to your own platforms on your hubs and FTPs that you own, or domains that you own. So that's the main thing that I wanted to express. Let's go back to the stackable system here. Is there any question specifically on the stackable the persuasion theme to keyword headline system? Do you see how a theme, which is Kraken-based kind of stuff, which Kraken will pull out, when you're researching with Kraken, it'll pull out the most profitable pain keywords and or money, which are often money keywords, from a given vertical theme. You could literally type in skin into Kraken, and it would extract millions of dollars worth of midtails from that. Give me a 1 if you understand what I'm trying to express here. If you get, it's not just a tool-based thing, but it's also eventually, by the time it reaches the Silo plugin on WordPress, you will have clearly thought through your entire stackable, your Silo architecture is literally being built at the same time as your Persuasion architecture is being built. And give me a 1 if you understand how crazy that is and how awesome. I mean, I got to tell you, it just really is nuts. Now, Don, if you don't have Kraken, this is not a platform pitch. If you don't have Kraken, all of this stuff can be done in various ways. You could use TLKT theoretically to pull this off as well. Kraken is just a fast way to do it. Okay. All right. So I mentioned the Mythbuster thing. I'll take a quick aside. Let me just go ahead and Network Empire. Now, there's going to be quite a bit more than just this. I'll drop the link for you. There'll be more than just this inside the area that we give you. I'm going to give you an instruction manual. It's actually pretty much complete. I just need to give it to you guys in a way that makes sense. Okay, we'll go ahead and drop this on chat to everybody.
Russell, I dropped that link in the chat for you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So here is the general overview of what we call the fact or fiction of the Mythbuster template. We've never given this to anybody before, but I would say that this converts quite a bit better or equally as good as the Painkiller Article methods for your WR1. This is ideal for WR1, and it will still work with Social Explosion. Okay. So one of your homework assignments is to, how many of you have Netflix? Give me a 1 if you have Netflix, and 2 if you do not, because I give you a different source. Anybody have Netflix? Okay. 2, you do not. Okay. You will probably be able to find, John, okay, you guys who don't have it will probably be able to find this television show kind of hacked up on YouTube, but it's better if you could watch the entire script. There's a television show called Fact or Faked on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I invented this process based on having seen the stats on the audience and viewer retention for this show after the commercial break. Okay? Yeah, no, John, no need to go buy Netflix. No need to do that. You don't have to do that. I'll leave it up to you. And the show is called Fact or Faked. And one of your homework assignments, which is kind of a fun homework assignment, since Matt and Sue are cracking the whip on all this technical stuff, I'm going to give you a fun one. Watch 1 episode of Fact or Faked on Netflix and or YouTube. Okay, you can also see it on Hulu. And keep in mind that the reason that I'm telling you to do this is because the audience retention after the commercial break is so high that you need to start looking at the neuroscience of why it's high. Okay, so what I did is I created a template. Here's template 1, the advanced version. That's as complicated as it gets. Here's your headline. It's the same kind of headline. Remember, by the time you've arrived at an article, you would have already have drilled into Kraken or TLKT with your main theme. You know exactly what your keywords are. You've gone to Painfinder, okay, and Painfinder has already given you the questions. You already know the issues in the industry, and preferably, while you're doing all this, you would know what your product is, okay? And that's the other thing back on the stackable persuasion side that I want to remind you, is this process, interesting thing you guys probably have already come into touch with. The interesting problem here is that if you do not have a product or service, by the time you get to the third layer before you write your headlines, you don't know what you're writing your headlines to. If you don't know that you're selling skin rash balm, your process of getting to your website and actually making a profit and turning a profit is 10 times harder if you don't know what you're selling. So this comes back to the theme of the day, which is what the heck are we? Everybody, all at once, type it in.
Selling.
No. See, you're not supposed to answer my question.
Sorry.
I'm giving you a hard time. There you go. Notice, yeah, excellent, fantastic. I'm just teasing Sue. Don't hit me.
I'm quiet again.
She's right over in the other room, so I got to be careful. But if I hear the patter of little feet, I'm locking the door. Okay. All right, so that's good. Now, I don't want to sit here and repeat the same thing over and over again. But if I ever was to sit here and just beat my head against the wall and just repeat to you guys over and over again something, it would be, what the heck are you selling? Begin with the end in mind, okay? Really know what's going on here. If I can't get you past this first block, everything that Matt and Sue are showing you is difficult. I mean, Matt designed the business decision calculator so that you would actually be able to make business decisions. And sometimes, true, people don't like the numbers that they get back from DWS Any Silo Builder, but that's tough. That's why we built it. We're here to help you make money, 6 figures plus. Okay, everybody give us a 1 if you understand that. That's our goal. You may not like the numbers that you get coming back from your ClickBank affiliate program in DWS Any Silo Builder. Well, tough. You still have to run the numbers. And if it's disappointing, you got to find another product. You know, we've thought long and hard about creating a product acquisition, pulling in third-party companies to help you, but that's really not our focus right now. Bottom line is you got to have awesome product. Give me a 1 if you actually have a product for sale that you own, and a 2 if you do not. I really want to know that for you guys. Okay, there's a lot of people who do not have a product of your own. Okay, everybody should, yeah. Everybody should. Guy, as you well know. I know that you've been, I guess I won't say what business you're in, but Guy has worked hard over the last few years creating products. So what I want you ultimately to do, some of you probably have clients. If you have clients, that's great. I can understand. Guy is actually platform selling in my coaching course. That is awesome. And I'm not going to read that guy. He says, everybody should own my product. Yes, that's right. He has taken to heart everything I've taught him. Now, he's actually got me on the rope for interesting but incomplete. Like, what is your product, Guy? Okay. See, I mean, everything has an opportunity. He actually has financial instruments, and they're quite good ones. Okay. Yes, Joseph, I do consider information educational site a product. Well, I don't consider the site itself a product. If it's a membership site, it is. Okay. Guys, as soon as you have an interesting but incomplete transaction, okay, as soon as you have a buy button where somebody has to make a technical transaction, and you're selling it, that is a product. Okay. If I sign up for a membership site and I transact and I give you a transaction, a dollar amount for PayPal, and I go into the membership site, I definitely consider a product. Okay. So it doesn't take that much. But one of the biggest problems we have is what the heck are you selling? For I'd say about 35% of our members, and we have an awful lot of you that do not own your own product as well. Doesn't mean that you can't make money, and it's a great place to start learning the technical stuff. It's great, in fact, that you're learning the technical stuff. Just keep in mind that you need to have a product. Bradley is asking, how about a service like in local leads? Yeah, a product or a service. I should have said very clearly a product or a service, Bradley. I personally prefer buy buttons, that sell objects. I would much rather provide a service in SEO than tangibles, though, like a storefront or whatever. But all of them are great. This is not a judgment. Products are products are products. Point is, in order to use your decision calculator, which Matt's going to show you, and to give yourself some projections, you have to know how much you plan to earn per sale, and before you even move on. Otherwise, how do you know how much time and energy you can afford to building your empire? Sue will teach everybody. She always has and always will, cracking the whip, self-funding. Her projects are self-funding. When Sue builds multi-million-dollar businesses, there is no debt. Network Empire has no debt. Kraken has no debt. ThemeZoom has no debt. Got it? That's the way Sue does things. Ow! Exactly. No debt, guys. Now, if you have cash infusion in your business, there's things we can talk about, but that's not our focus on here. Okay, so Russell's kind of off on a rant. Back to the Mythbusters. Here's a quick overview of the Mythbuster writing method. And then we're going to talk quickly. Actually, Guy turned me on last year to an amazing book called Pitch Anything. He's actually a student here, Oren Claff. And I was like, oh, yeah, Guy, whatever. I can't learn from a student. And then I got the book. And this was actually added in something we call the Persuasion. I'll come back to the Mythbuster template in a second because this actually has to be added to the Persuasion style. But we have a document that has surprisingly gotten very popular. It's called the Persuasion Architecture Mastery Comparison Chart. Okay, I'm going to drop it. It's actually in your technical foundation training area. Okay, I'll go ahead and send it to everybody. I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat. And again, this is easily accessible for you. And it'll be helpful, too, for you guys to know this, because if you're referencing a specific question to me for anything, in following up in coaching, or it's so weird, I can't open this chat window. Okay, there we go. I went ahead and dropped that on there for you guys. Now, what this is, what always annoyed me about copywriting and sales and marketing, because I've studied with some of the greats and done all this, right? What was annoying is that they weren't very technical. They didn't care about the machine world at all. They were too persuasion architecture oriented. Okay, what Sue and I did is we put our heads together, and Matt and I did. We put our heads together. We created this Persuasion Architecture Mastery Comparison Chart. And they're not necessarily in the hierarchy of the most dangerous to the least dangerous. It's not the way. It's not hierarchical in that sense, with the exception of number 1. And I'm sure that Guy can probably vouch for this as well. I consider Oren's Pitch Anything to be one of the most dangerous neuromarketing hijack. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that he actually published the book, because now everybody can metaframe that process. In other words, you can almost be in a process of understanding how you're being framed, especially things like the product launch formula, the sideways sales letter. Because of his book, Pitch Anything, it reveals most of the framing that is used. But I do consider it the most effective, volatile, dangerous way of presenting. And as you'll find out in the book, he's been able to close 7- and even 8-figure banking deals with this process and the way that you present. It's mostly designed for live presentation, but many of these frames, when you're writing, you can use anywhere between 3 and 4. You could actually use all the frames. I actually tested this entire process already. So the frames are phase 1, intrigue; phase 2, prizing; phase 3, the time frame, which is like, it's the same thing as a countdown timer on a website in the digital environment, except it's happening more or less in the physical environment when you're talking to people. And then there's the close, the morality frame. So we're not going to get too much into this today, but it is kind of useful for you guys to know that I consider this to be, in terms of persuasion architecture, one of the more dangerous and powerful ways of using neuromarketing to affect people in the pitch deck and the stacking of it. And one of the things that's useful for you guys about this chart is the recommended context. What annoyed me about all the different persuasion methods and persuasion architecture methods out there is they don't tell you, they're not web-centric, they don't tell you the best way to use them. You can definitely use the Pitch Anything pitch deck inside a video, for example. But it's recommended to be used in live presentations. But I've added sales copy and videos live presentations is the intended use. Okay, replaces PowerPoint, or it can be used in conjunction quickly with PowerPoint. So if you go down, this column might be useful for you. For example, the irresistible offer, something we teach with Mark Joyner, is excellent when it's used in small compressed ad space. Okay, you couldn't really use the irresistible offer inside a pitch deck environment where you have 10 minutes, 12 minutes, sometimes less. Okay, you might be able to use it in a section. So what we've done with the Persuasion Architecture Mastery Comparison Chart is giving you a digital context and or physical context where the method is best used. Okay, give me a 1 if you guys understand that, because I love this thing. I refer to it on a weekly basis. Everybody get that? Okay. Fantastic. Okay, we're at the top of the hour now, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Who's got questions about the stuff that we're getting into today? Mythbusters, back to Mythbusters. Okay, they really wanted that. Okay, yeah, so there's a couple of things. Homework assignment is that you need to watch Fact or Faked, at least one episode, and you need to compare it with this Mythbusters chart that I've given you. Okay, and I would like you to actually, with a pencil, when you're watching Mythbusters, look for the open loops. Look for something that we call interesting but incomplete. All right, that's deliverable. I would like you guys to have a little fun with this. So when you're going through the show, I want you to be aware of yourself when you're watching it. And every time, when you're at a point when you're watching the show where you're kind of intrigued or interested, and you would want to, where you feel a sense of anticipation, on that piece of paper, just pencil down A, anticipation, and write down where you felt the anticipation. Okay, for example, if it's, is this really a UFO or is this really a boogeyman? Even if you're highly skeptical, just write down where you might be intrigued. Write down the word anticipation and where in the show that anticipation occurred. Okay, that's one homework assignment. I think, Matt, don't you have another assignment for them as well for this week?
Yeah, basically what the guys are going to be doing is defining the market and getting prepared to give us their primary keyword and their 3 theme keywords that support their primary keywords, so we can start working on drilling out their projects for them in Kraken.
Yeah, okay. And so since I covered most of the webinar this week, how we're going to be giving them their precise information, because you guys are going to need, this is the Pain Finder week, right?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that is another key important thing that you guys need to be doing is your product or your client's product. And if you do not, some of you came back with a 2 and you do not have product. Take your client's product, okay? And I need you to find out what the pains are. And Matt's going to cover the frequently asked questions and the should ask questions section should be in your area. We need to find out, you need to find out what pains there are around your product. Is it a vitamin or is it a painkiller? Okay, that's the first step that you're going to need to do. And if it's a vitamin, meaning there's no pains that you find around it, either searching on the web or using our Pain Finder application, if there's no pain around it, we need to find out if we can reposition that product or that service as a pain, that you're solving the problem. Okay? And this by itself is going to be incredibly compelling because you might not even be aware that you're selling a vitamin. And vitamins are actually much harder to write copy for. Give me a 1 if you understand that vitamins are harder to write copy for, or 2 if you do not. Okay. Daniel does not. Okay. John does not. Okay. All right. Here's the bottom line, guys. Vitamins are nice to have. Pains are gotta have them. Pain, you gotta have it right now. It's easy to write copy because it's obvious. Painkillers sell themselves more easily in an environment because you're trying to provide a solution for a pain. So an example of that would be, well, quite literally a painkiller. If you've got a back pain product, if somebody's in serious pain and they're searching through the web trying to find something, and they're already in pain, when you say, hey, the ultimate back pain solution, I've tried everything, and you write really compelling copy, they're more inclined to buy something than if it's, a gold-plated wine bottle holder. See what I'm saying? And yeah, and if you're selling something like a gold-plated wine cellar wine rack is nice to have, but you're not necessarily in pain. Like there's not somebody who's sitting up at night saying, oh my God, I've got to go buy a gold-plated wine cellar rack right now. You understand? Now, what happens with that is then you have to reposition in your market. It actually changes the kind of copy. Okay, so I think we have to wrap this up. However, I'm going to be available to help you guys in the persuasion side. And we'll be covering this more and more, but you guys have gotten your feet wet into, like, this is the ultimate in integrating persuasion marketing into your website silo architecture. Okay, you guys it's a very advanced step to be able to take your website silo architecture. Because what happens is when you have your persuasion architecture and your Painkiller Article method or your Mythbuster method on top of as a silo landing page or in your articles, you start converting while you're ranking. You start converting hand over fist. So last thing to follow up, we'll go ahead and get off in the next 2 minutes here, is on the /Mythbusters page, we'll go over this more, and we're going to create a help file for you inside the members area. The advanced version takes a little bit longer to write. Okay. The basic version is a little shorter. You can see how I made it easier for you. This is actually a test banner. Okay, this represents the commercial break in the factor faked screenplay type writing that they used. Okay, we're going to show you all that in the help file. And then part 3 is video. This is a video-driven version. This is the kind of writing that we often have on video sites. In fact, sometimes we even automate it in video, WR2 video sites. Okay, so have a look over these things, and we're going to actually give you a document in the next 24 hours that tells you exactly what each one of these things means. And after you watch a factor fake show, which will be kind of fun for you guys for persuasion, then you'll get a pretty good idea. The last thing that I want you to do is go to interestingbutincomplete.com and do this before you watch that show. It's called Interesting But Incomplete. This is a page that we normally reserve for our live certification students. I'd like you to look over this chart for about 10 minutes before next week, and it talks to you about how something can be left to be interesting and incomplete in order to drive people to a sale. Okay, and just jot some notes down about this and questions that you might have about this chart, and we'll cover it in an upcoming webinar. All right? Excellent.
Okay, I want to jump in for just a couple minutes. I was distracted during part of this. Did you actually show them Painfinder at all?
No.
Okay, so everybody should have access to Painfinder. And the way to use Painfinder is to throw in your top-level keyword. So if you're in some kind of a long tail, somebody give me an idea of what your market is, because
I'm actually,
not there right
I've got it up right now.
I know, great, that's awesome.
Okay, here's an excellent,
all right, so,
here's one that I just drilled into. It's called radiation.
Okay, so an example of somebody's market is retirement income. You're probably not going to get a lot of results on retirement income, so instead look at the term retirement, because that's going to show you the pains around the retirement market and how you can jack into those pains by addressing their need for income. Okay, so you're going to want to use Painfinder. I'd get in there now. I'd start playing around with that, because in a couple of days what we're going to do is we give all of you guys $350 worth of Kraken research. We're going to shoot you a form. You're going to fill in 4 keywords. These should be, one of them should be what your market is, like retirement income, and give me a pain that you find in Painfinder. Maybe give me your the top of your vertical, like retirement, and one other keyword, maybe another pain, maybe another way of expressing retirement income, and so those are going to be the 4 keywords that you put in on this. Don't worry too much about it. Don't stress too much about it, because Kraken does a great job. You're going to get back someplace between 15 and 20 drills from those 4 keywords, and it's going to expose your entire market for you. And then you can get in there and you can look around at that, and that'll give you some really good foundation for where you're going to take and choose your keywords, how you're going to set up your silo structure. So taking what Russ has said today about persuasion, using Pain Finder to find the pains in your market, and then moving on next week to keyword research. We're going to show you how to find your themes and keywords, so that's the continuity of where we are right now and what I want you guys to do over the course of the next few days.
So what we're really at right here, guys, on the stackable thing is we're looking for the pains, and like I'm drilling into retirement. Looks like Pain Finder's down, Sue.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and
we'll put in a
it'll be up in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. So the main thing is that you'll get back all these questions, and there is some decent instructions on how to use this. But these questions, really, what we do is we go by views, and what you're looking for is whether the question could be made congruent in an article with your product or service. Okay. So it's really awesome because then you can actually select it as, okay, I'm going to go ahead and definitely write about this one. These are to answer. That's how I organize my Pain Finder in any industry. If it's bright yellow, I have my writers come in here and answer it. Okay? And then when it's answered, they click it green. So this is a really great management tool for you to start organizing the pains and making sure that you speak to those pains and broadcast those pains in your socially activated first your website and then ultimately what's going to be your online empire. All right, you guys, I'm looking forward to it, and you guys are really being exposed to a lot of material really fast, but it is a crash course learning, and you're going to be delighted with the effectiveness of these methods.
All right. We'll all be in the Skype group over the course of this next coming week, so if you have questions, don't hesitate to jump in and express yourself.
Express yourself, guys. We're here.
If you need some coaching time, like this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is the key part. You get this right, everything else is a whole lot easier. So, if you've got questions, make sure you talk to us, and we'll help you with that.
Yep. All right, you guys, thank you so much, and we will look forward to seeing you on the next training session.